is inside Greenfoot, sort of as usual. So if I try and set this going, there we go, we've got a feed. So this may seem like it's got a lot of classes. The reason for that is it's about 7 demos in one scenario. We actually run this in the reception at the University of Kent on a dedicated demo machine. So we've got a Kinect above a big screen, and it just cycles through these demos every so often. So hence they're all together in one scenario when really they sort of should be separate. But it's just convenient for showing it to you if it's all in one. So don't be scared by thinking the Kinect requires like 30 classes. It requires sort of about 5, but they're all in there together. So this one I put up here, which is handily called Mirror World, is just showing the live feed of that portion of the room. So I'll leave my hand in front of it. You can see we're actually going live. And so this is just a standard feed that you get a lot like a webcam feed. So for those who like technical specs, it's 640 by 480 at 30 Hertz, which is sort of decent webcam, pretty much. Not much more fancy than that. The key bit is that combined with that, we have a depth sensor on there with a sort of infrared projector that makes it all work. You can read more about the technical stuff elsewhere, but you basically get an image and you get depth, and then combined with that, the sort of software that surrounds the Kinect can do people tracking. I'll just show you a couple of sort of examples of that kind of thing. So if I set, which one's best to bring this up? Okay, so now hopefully I'm going to have to go back and pause a bit here. If I walk in front of this image, so as soon as I walk in, it's able to spot my outline there. I'm the very dark black bit. And what this scenario is doing is sort of, as I move around the place, I actually leave a trail behind myself. So the capability we're using there is the ability for it to kind of outline me, pick out that's the bit that's a person. So I've gone for sort of drawing myself in stylish black, and then as you kind of move around, I'm just sort of leaving shadows behind me that gradually fade away into whiteness. And so you can actually have sort of multiple people in the frame, and it will track them. Do you want to stand up for a second, maybe? There we go. So inside the image, so with both sort of tracking. It can do up to about 4 people at once, reasonably. The problem is there's a sort of cone that a trapezium really, that you have to be in. You've got to be further than 6 foot away, but not further than 10 foot. And it's sort of a kind of 90-degree angle, I think, roughly, in terms of how the cone comes out. So you've got a sort of play area here that you can be in. 2 people can fit in that fine and flail their arms around. If you've got 4, they need to keep their arms down a bit to avoid sort of punching each other in the face. But you can potentially track them all if they're not doing much. So that's kind of one example. So the idea of sort of the Kinect in general is obviously it's a different input mechanism. Okay? You've got keyboard, you've got mouse, you've got things like gamepads and whatever. But the idea of the Kinect is to not require a controller or something, that it tracks your body, and you can use your body to control sort of games or simulations. So the idea is we hook it up to Greenfoot, and then you can actually use this if you've got one to sort of make and control Greenfoot scenarios. So you can do all sorts of ones. Several of them are just sort of image processing ones. This might show up a little bit in the scenario, but basically, if I step in front of this image, so as long as I'm in it, every time the circle passes over it, it sees through me. It's a cute little trick, and you can think for a moment about how that works. It's not actually seeing through me, but stuff like that is just sort of that's just using the ability to have a person in the scene, really, and to register when they enter and when they leave. So yeah, you might, if you go past here, and you'll kind of see what it's doing there. Next to the image. So there's a few other things that you can do. Let's see which one's best. Let me go for painting. Okay, I'm going to actually take you through the code for this one in a minute, but just to give you an idea. This one's actually using the skeleton tracking. So far we've just done outline tracking. So you need to calibrate first in this position, so we put up a little thing to help, so it sort of looks like this. You hold it for sort of a few seconds. How long it takes sort of varies a bit. And now I've got a stick figure of me. Okay, so I've got my arm, actually sort of legs as well. And you can kind of duck and, you know. So we've actually got there the position of the person, and we're just drawing a sort of stick avatar. As you can probably see, this one's called painting because wherever my hand moves, I'm just drawing a dot on the image. So what it means is you kind of stand in front of the camera, look at the image and actually draw. I've also put in, if you raise your left hand, you clear. There's all sorts, you can draw kinds of images and then stick your left hand up to clear. So just with sort of using your hands, which you can track, you can actually sort of have something on the screen which you control and move around. Like I say, in just a second we'll look at the code behind that and see how, sort of what that looks like in Greenfoot. Obviously when I leave the image, you know, my joints go all over the place. Okay, this is one which my netbook struggles a little bit to run. With a little bit more processing power, it's a bit better. So the idea here is you've got these balls falling from the ceiling that have got a sort of little bit of a physics model behind them. And if I now go into the image, then I will sort of get an outline of me. The reason it's not quite correlated is because you can do sort of proper correlation between the image and me. I've turned it off because it uses up a bit more processing power. But basically the idea is, if I stick my arms out, you can sort of see a strange outline of me. The balls actually kind of interact with me. So they'll rest on my arms, so this arm up here, the balls will rest. And then if I let my arm down, the balls will kind of roll down my arm, things like that. If anyone wants to put the software on their own machine later, I can sort of show you this running and you can have a play with it at the end of the session. So there's all sorts of little things you can do to actually, you know, get yourself on the screen and interact with the scenario. So let's see what that actually looks like in Greenfoot, because all these are just sort of coded in Greenfoot. So I'll switch to close that one down.
Just a quick question, Neil.
Yep.
On your